Welcome, welcome. So glad you are able to make it to this month's .fit Masterclass. Of course, we've broken a record. We have an all-time high in terms of registrations to this webinar. We're so excited you guys are here. We have a lot of information on probably trainers' favorite topic, gains.
Definitely my favorite topic.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kat Bearfield. I'm the Vice President of Nutrition Services for .fit, also a registered dietitian and certified trainer. And I am honored and happy to introduce to you our founder and CEO, Neil Spruce. You guys all know him. He's our fearless leader. And so I'm going to let him take it away here. He's going to get started with a lot of information. As always, you guys are on listen-only mode so that we can capture a recording. Yes, we will post the recording on the website and send you guys an email with a link to that information. We'll also have a download of the slides so you guys can use it for your reference. And of course, Neil will stay as long, and me too, will stay as long as you'd like to answer all of your questions live. So fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Take it away, Neil.
Yeah.
It's going to be smooth sailing from now on.
Welcome, everybody, and this is a record. So it just tells me what trainers are interested in. I know it's not all your clients that are muscle gain clients, so I know it has to do with a lot of you that are on there or have kids growing up as well, in sports right now. So again, I just want to start this out right, though. Okay, I'm not going to go any more than 30 minutes because I really want to do the questions and answers at the end. So we're going to get right to the meat of the stuff, but I will some background real quick. So we're talking about maximizing muscle gain. All right, so I put a little bullet underneath here, and of course we're not going down that road with anybody here, okay? All right, and without banned substances, that's another thing, because maybe it's legal as a supplement, but they're banned in pro sports or any drug-tested sports. All right, so we're not going to go down that road either, but I have some content at the very end for you guys to take home. All right, so keep one thing in mind as we go through this. Muscle size and performance are not mutually exclusive. In other words, they can be symbiotic. They can work together to a certain degree depending on the activity. But if you're a performance athlete and jumping is important and speed off the box is important, obviously you can't put too much muscle on or you compromise that in many other different sports. So we're going to be talking muscle gain and muscle gain only at this particular point, but I'll throw some bullets in here on the performance side as well. Okay, so we're not going to get into mechanisms of actions on anything. So I had the Cat put the slide together for you. So the things, protein, amino, but we've already done webinars on all these. Some of you may have missed it, but all of your mechanisms of actions for all the supplements and all their ingredients and all of the safety, all the information that a scientist would want, which is many of you, I know how you guys are, right, is all contained in these webinars that we've already done. So I don't want to go through that again for all the people that have joined me on those. So I'm just showing you where that is. Click on there. You can download that and look at all the fancy mechanisms, actions for everything here, whether it be amino acids, leucine, creatine, and of course, beta alanine or any of the evidence-based supplements. Okay. So make sure just want to make sure you know where that is. Okay. And those are all those things are probably about 30 minutes long. Some are a little longer, like the protein one. All right. So quick diet overview, because all the supplements in the world are not going to do you any good if you don't take care of your baseline needs. And that includes muscle gain, which is obviously protein, fats, and water, meal timing, calorie needs and adjustments. I put it all here. It's really take-home stuff for you so you can download it and have it, sort of as a little a manual for making sure people are doing the right things from a diet standpoint, okay? Then I also, a couple other little bullets in there, okay? Now, then we'll get to what we really came here for, evidence-based dietary supplements, or should I call it the final edge to push the limits. And that's what we'll be talking about really the last 20 minutes. So that's 30 minutes total, and bingo, it's going to be all you guys for as much as you want. But there's two categories of supplements that I will discuss, obviously, performance enhancement, acute performance, and then recovery. All right, and then we'll go through baseline needs and then supplement programs. I actually wrote them all out so you can view what I send to athletes. So when I said to like NFL players or world's strongest men or kids, I put one in here, which is just baseline basically, right? That are growing and they're competing in a strength power sport. And then I also going to get to this little last part, the final plateau. When do you stop gaining muscle? When is that day where it can't happen anymore? Which will be, obviously a sad day for me when that day happened, but you'll understand where it is for everybody when I get done with that part. Last 5 minutes. Okay, Q&A as long as I desire. Then I put in this section to really take home information, but I will look at those before I turn it over to you guys. Okay, here we go. So just a quick little update. This is just to take home, not going to spend any time on it. Protein requirements, make sure all of your athletes are between 25 and 35% protein total. And again, I hate the number, the percentage. I just kind of do that because it's kind of left over from the old days. But, you know, and again, generally it's 1 gram per pound. But if you are dieting at the same time, which we're not talking about today, but I keep throwing it in there, then you would have more grams per pound. And lean body mass, but 1 gram per pound is absolutely fine. But 4 to 6 times a day, if you want to maximize muscle, you got to get to that 4 to 6 times a day, include maybe 1 time before bed, because we do want to hit the 4-hour cycle. Because again, this is whether you work out or not, this cycle exists in every single human being from birth to death, okay, womb to tomb. 4 hours of synthesis, but then when it goes down and breakdown happens, if you don't get any amino acids in there, then it just stays breakdown until you die, obviously, if you don't eat. So obviously every 4 hours, when you get down to the breakdown side, you want to come up with your meal timing. And that's where that old 4-hour rule came into play, and it still exists today because we have not genetically mutated out of that 4-hour cycle. All right. Carbohydrates, anywhere, now for muscle gain, anywhere from 40, you can go to 60 if you prefer, maybe more carbs. But again, forget the percentage so much. Just basically it's every meal. You should have carbs. Because don't forget, when it comes to muscle gain, carbs are important. Because first of all, carbohydrates not just raise your insulin level, which is maybe the most anabolic hormone, raises your growth hormone levels and testosterone levels as well. So again, of course, then the obvious, it fills your primary energy needs. All right. So just some with every meal, and it gets personal. You know, at the end of the day, generally it's 2 to 1 for most strength or power athletes, but it doesn't have to be. I don't think I ever got to 2 to 1 during my heyday or anything like that, but I was getting so much at each meal, it didn't matter what the percentage was. More than enough than my glycogen stores could handle, you know, during the off season when you're putting on as much muscle as you possibly can. And again, I always qualify this by saying if you're going through dieting at the same time, then of course it's much lower. Okay, and then finally fat, you know, whatever's left. 20 to 35%, anywhere in there is fine. So that's just your background there. So I put an example here. So the power athlete, as you can see, has, you know, there's the amount of protein, and then there's the endurance athlete next to it. So significantly different type. I just put that. That's left over from my performance lecture. All right, so now let's talk about meal timing. Make sure they time their meals. We already did. I put this in here for you. So take home stuff. 2 to 3 hours before the workout or before your event, whatever it may be, you're having your big meal, right? And it's just, you know, moderate protein, low fat, and low fiber during that time because you're ready to compete or you're before your workouts. You don't want too much with the stomach empty, right? And then your pre-workout shake 20 to 40 minutes before, and that's anywhere from 25 to, now this is important for all you guys because we're talking about muscle gain here, 25 to 40 grams. And there's a myth about muscle full effect. So generally liquid fast, obviously we're talking about the type of, you know, shake that you would take, but it's 0.2 of a gram per pound of lean body mass. So that old muscle full thing, 25 grams at one time is all your body can do, is a myth. We know that now. I mean, obviously a 450-pound world's strongest man isn't going to be the same as a 150-pound person, okay, as far as that. So this is the true number of how much your muscle can actually take at each particular time. We measure it with fractionized synthesis rate. Okay. During exercise, it really doesn't matter, you know, so much on a weight training type workout. Because obviously, if you're trying to gain muscle, you know what you're doing there. That's what your guy's job is, right? A hypertrophy training on a custom exercise regularly. So you don't really get all that thirsty, but you know, these are the basic rules about hydration for any person at all. They're here. Now, one thing that's different now for all the muscle gain, when we start stacking amino boost with protein, we have them drink it like Gatorade, if you will, during an endurance event, but it's during your workout. So you've got your amino boost and you're drinking it 10 or start drinking it 5 or 10 minutes before the workout and drink it through the workout like you would drink a Gatorade if you were running almost, right? Or basketball. So you're trying to trickling in the essential amino acids for that faster recovery. So there's a little tidbit of a secret right there. All right, and then the post-training, guys know immediately after, use the same, whatever you use before your workout, you use immediately after. And we'll look at the stacking here later. And again, because you want to hit that window. And of course, our protein lecture goes all through this window here. That's when you're nutrient sensitivity in your body is highest. Looking around all over after that muscle damaging workout you did, looking all over for some new building materials. And then if it doesn't find it, the window starts to close. So you want to dump those things in immediately. And then 1 to 2 hours after that, you consume your regular meal, right? And it's important that you have a regular meal with carbs at this time. You want to get that insulin and get it back up to get that growth hormone and get your testosterone levels up at that point. I'll give it some special considerations. Nothing, if you go bed to gym, then you have your pre-training meal. This is important now for muscle gain. That big, large pre-training meal, have it before you go to bed. And then you just drink your shake before you go to the gym. Now, I put this tournament play in here. The reason I did it, because for those of you that have kids or they're playing in tournaments, this is a take-home message for you guys, how you eat between bouts of exercise and bouts of games and so forth. I just left it in there for you guys. All right, and then fluid recommendations are here, right there. Just the standard recommendations. Okay, now let's get to some things that are a little bit unique here. Now, you ready? Calories and adjustments now for muscle gain. All right, so let's talk about these are the general rules all the way around. So it's a 250 to 500 calorie increase above your maintenance needs. Just use the DotFit program. That's the easiest way to start it, to gain about a half to 1 pound a week. And this all really depends on your level of experience, right? The least experienced weightlifter is going to gain way more than the more experienced one. We get that, right? We're getting that note I'll have at the end. But beginning exercisers and growing teens, they can easily, again, gain more muscle than someone that's more experienced. But when gains stall, here's your big take home now. When gains stall or slow down, you add 100 to 250 calories to your daily total. Of course, that's based on body size. A larger person, 250, right? About equal amounts of protein, carbohydrates, and moderate fat. Because you want the carbohydrates to support the energy necessary and the rebuilding necessary, but you want the protein to support the extra muscle as well. So it's about even as far as the addition goes. Now, next bullet. After addition of calories, if any 1 week weight gain does not occur, repeat the above process. Add shakes as necessary. Most people have to do that. The hardest thing we have to do with football players in the off season or anybody is get them to eat enough food to gain weight properly, right? Easy to gain weight eating lousy food, hard to gain weight eating good food because you got to keep eating and it just gets boring after a while. All right, so, and again, let's shake before bed if necessary. Now, I put this in. If you're trying to increase performance and muscle, then you really want to cut your gains in half. You don't want to gain that full pound. Maximum would be a half a pound a week. Females about a quarter pound a week. Okay, not really, but same rules above if you're not gaining the muscle, but you proceed at a pace that doesn't compromise performance. You got to make sure you're measuring your vert and your speed and your power. Okay, so if body fat, for any reason during your additions, as you're trying to gain the muscle, if your body fat or your weight increases undesirably, you can either slightly reduce the calories, but I prefer to do some form of aerobic activity so you can keep feeding the muscle and use the aerobic to starve the fat, to use that for the energy and keep the muscle, the ingredients, the nutrients coming in for muscle. So little tip on that for you. And again, I put this note down here. Novices at any age can put on muscle relatively quick, but the combination of age and experience, which we'll look at the very end of this thing, significantly slows the pace over time. But proper nutrition can extend that. See, that's the point. I can meet anybody and probably put muscle on anybody at any point in their career, wherever they are, just because they haven't done everything properly, which you're going to see here at the end. Okay. And then here, gaining muscle while losing fat. I just put this in just as a take home for you guys. But there's less gain potential. Remember that. If you're trying to lose fat simultaneously, it's harder to gain muscle. But the deficit's got to be tiny if you want this to work. Hot protein is going to go up, and it's definitely 6 times a day now. And then you got to really supplement. I mean, you pretty much got to stack. And I'm talking about experienced people. Obviously, you don't need to do this when you're younger and inexperienced, but you can really start adding the supplements so you're bombarding the muscle with nutrition with low to no calories to feed muscle while we starve fat with the calorie reduction. Okay. All right. Done with that. That is your diet information and just the basic rules around dieting that you'll be able to get. Okay. Now let's take a look at the supplements and speeding results and prolonging that final plateau so you put on muscle as long as possible, right? Okay, so first thing is baseline. You know, once you start putting on a little bit of muscle, things are going to go up, you know, so you can add creatine to your baseline, add extreme creatine, which is beta alanine, glutamine, and of course creatine. And then you can get crazy and start adding the full stack, okay? Now, you don't see a picture of Amino Boost, but you'll see that towards the end. So the whole point is these are the ones that can make a difference. So what are your baseline? You guys all know this. I've been doing this lecture forever. In fact, I just got back from New York, back-to-back lectures every day on all of these different things here. But you guys know baseline. When I work with an athlete, a pro athlete, including both my boys, there's never a time that I don't say, this is first. Got the diet stuff done that we just talked about, but this is first. Before we think about creatine or any of the fancy stuff, we want to make sure that you're recovering and your health you stay healthy. Because without this, there's a good chance of constantly getting sick on a regular basis, missing workouts, and not recovering properly. So your multivitamin mineral every day. Now calcium, I know you guys hate this picture. I can just see people turning away from this. But if you remember the Final Four about 6, 7 years ago, this guy went up and down, and this was a non-contact injury and snapped his, obviously, the bone here. Now, and this is almost absolute for sure, a lack of calcium, vitamin D as a kid. So again, this is the importance of this. And we're finding more athletes needing it. Athletes that still drink milk and athletes that are using dairy products or dairy proteins like, whey proteins and so forth, they're getting all the calcium they need from diet. And I always prefer diet first. Okay, but you'd be surprised how many people don't get it, especially when they're young. So you got to have this right, or why would I bother putting muscle on you? Okay, the point is you got to keep the bone strong all the way around. So you have to calcium only if necessary. And that's if you're not getting it from diet. Hopefully you are. And then, an omega here. This is just baseline, 1 a day. My son, the fighter, and everything else, they probably take 3 or 4 a day because they're hooked on the recovery piece, and that's personal to each person there. But this is what you need just to get your blood levels where we want them to be able to recover significantly and help maintain your health. And then finally, we already covered this, the protein at 1 gram per pound. So that's baseline. That's done, right? Okay, next level. Ready? So there's 2 categories of supplements. That's what it comes down to, right? And the first category is to improve the workout. What supplements can improve the workout? So the acute performance, increase the adaptation potential because you worked out stronger, harder, so you probably did a little more structural damage. Well, the goal is if you did a little more structural damage, get a little more recovery, right, on that. So the adaptation potential is there because you had a better workout. And these are the evidence-based supplements that can get that done for you. All right, you've got creatine, obviously, caffeine, beta alanine. We already talked about carbohydrate. And of course, the nitrate is another one now that we're finding also that has the ability, of course, like the NO7 nitrate production there. And there's some other things too. And then sodium bicarbonate, which we're not really talking, so buffering agent. We won't discuss those here. But the bottom line is these are the ones that are evidence-based. So there's nobody refutes these at all. These are done deals. So that's category 1. How do you increase acute performance? So you increase your adaptation potential, because the only potential so far comes to the second category of supplements, which is speeding recovery. All right. So in other words, you don't take protein and all of a sudden go, whoa, look at that. I put on all kinds of muscle. That is a long-term play, right? It is the recovery, right? So you have to measure that over a year. By getting the right amount of protein and doing it before and after the workout, like we already discussed, you might be able to put on 5, 6, 7, 8 more pounds a year than you would if you didn't do it by the timing and the amounts, okay? And maybe even more, depending, all right? And of course, creatine is also a recovery supplement, big time recovery, besides an acute performance enhancer. And then essential amino acids like Amino Boost, right? You don't take Amino Boost and go, wow, I put on muscle today. It's a long-term recovery payback. That's what it comes down to. So this category 1 maximizes acute performance, so it increases adaptation potential. Category 2 maximizes the adaptation. So you get bigger, stronger, faster for a prolonged period of time. And that's what the final goal is by doing it right. Desired outcome of using supplements is a greater and prolonged accrual of gains as opposed to a non-supplemented state. So there's your take-home message. Supplements should be separated in 2 categories. 1, acute performance, as we just talked about up there, number 1, and number 2, long-term, better full recovery so that you've got a payback over the years. You've extended your competitive lifespan, if you will. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Now we get to the meat of all this. You ready? Here are the programs. Now, again, these are all, now Kat will tell you at the end where these exist up on our website also for all you people, but also you can always get them from me. This is what I actually give out to somebody. So they'll actually get this, you know, like in an email. So this is baseline, as you know. And by the way, the reason I wanted you to see this baseline here, we also put meal timings, early morning training, and all this. So if you have kids, this is it here, right here. Your people always say, well, what about my kids? You know, them Pop Warner, baseball, or anything else. This is it. And you can see the only thing that I'm telling you to do right here is taking a multivitamin mineral every day. Now, it wouldn't be an active if they're very young. I'm just showing you that. You would obviously split that out with the kids. But the same thing with them, the protein before and after their training, and especially these practices. These kids are getting beat up in practice. They don't eat right before they get there. So huge idea to make sure they use, and mostly first strain because we're trying to gain muscle, or not trying, we're trying to maximize their development years, obviously. And then calcium if they're not getting it from diet. Hopefully they're getting it from diet, right? And they're still drinking their milk or whatever else they're getting their calcium sources from. And then the omega if they're not eating fish. So those are obviously optional, but that's why it says daily is needed. But this is their baseline recommendation that I'm showing you here, right? And then on workout days, it tells them what to do. So there's level 1. Level 2 is nothing exactly what you just saw, but adding creatine. So obviously for kids, we have a stance on that. We tell them you've got to, our recommendation is through puberty before you use it. And that is all written in your practitioner dietary supplement reference guide. All of that is there, including ISSN, International Sports Society of Nutrition. Their recommendation, well, they're actually a little more liberal than I am. I'm just doing it because we're, you know, in business, everything else, and there's nothing wrong with it for, you know, for kids. But, you know, people just don't. We just stay away from it completely. But yes, you can. That really depends. So forget about the kid thing here. Let's just move into the adult world from this point on. All right. So this is level 2. So nothing different than baseline, adding creatine. So from an economical standpoint, this would be your first jump. And there's no reason to put a novice exerciser on creatine. I want them just doing baseline. That's it. Maybe 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road, things are going a little slower, boom, drop it in. That's what you want to do. You really want to progress things over time if muscle gain is their goal. Level 3, okay? Now you can start getting fancy. You can add your NO7 Rage, and you can see where we do this here, you know, how this goes. You've got the creatine up here, and then on workout days, you're taking the NO7 Rage here, but you're using the same loading phase of creatine here. And then you get your creatine monohydrate here on workout days, but you're also using it daily. And then on workout days, you're using NO7 Rage. So that's level 3, right? But stay with me here now. You can substitute that creatine anytime you want with creatine XXL. So I put the dosing for, if you're using this as a standalone product with NO7 or by itself instead of the creatine with the baseline, this is how you take it right here. Use 2 scoops daily on training days and non-training days. You have to take it every day, otherwise you will not have the creatine loading, right? So you never take a day off of creatine, or you're gonna have to reload again. You don't do that. So make sure that's why this is written like this. So you can substitute the creatine monohydrate with this if you want. Now, are you ready? And by the way, you can adjust this dosage depending on your size and how much beta alanine you can take before you start really tingling. Okay. All right. And now, if you want to get, I'm taking you to the next level. All right. And yes, that's me over there on the right in the day. The next level is what we say in sports. So going high school to college or college to the pros, we call it, you're going to the next level. And that's what it is here. So here's what it looks like. All right. This is where you add amino boost, extreme creatine in the loading and stacking programs. This is what it looks like. You ready? Okay, now I wrote this all out. I know it's like an eye test here, but the point is it's got everything in here for you. And these are all loaded in a very nice form up on the website for you. Okay, and when you download these, you can print them out and look at them nicely. But take a look at this now. This is, so you always have your baseline up here, obviously. Now on workout day, so immediately here's what you're starting someone that's you're working with that wants to go to the next level in muscle, right? Gaining muscle. So they've been through the regular baseline, they've been through baseline and creatine. Now you're adding amino boost and you're starting to stack this. Okay, so you're using amino boost. It's telling you how to use amino boost in here on workout days, right? All right, and then by the second week, you start the creatine supplementation, right? And on the 6th day of the second week, that's how precise we get with all of this, right? You add the creatine XXL, and it tells you exactly how to take it. So this is creatine monohydrate and extreme creatine XXL, and how you stack it into the 2.5 week or 3 week program, right? Now, you go to the next level, and you've got NO7 and XXL, same thing, just a different mix all the way around, right? So now you've got to, so the recommendation is obviously different because you got beta alanine twice here. You're getting it from the extreme creatine XXL, and you're getting it from NO7 Rage. So so this is laid out perfectly for someone really going to the next level, and everything's laid out. Oh, of course, baseline is always in the background, and it talks about when you add it, and then finally, the Big Mac Daddy. This is the one. Like, yeah, I don't know if you guys saw our dot fit athlete just won the world's strongest man. That's pretty cool. All right, this is exactly the kind of program right here that we lay out for them here. But if you look at it here, I'll just see if I can highlight this for you. You've got everything here. This is all your baseline stuff. Creatine beginning the second week. This is the first week. Getting everything going, getting everything strong. And here's your 6th day of the second week, right? And then on the 4th week, you're adding NO7 Rage. And now you are jack stacked and Big Mac. Okay, this is it. And nothing trumps this. You're not gonna find anything out there that you can beat if you follow this thing. And don't forget, the underlying part is the diet. I'm assuming you guys know what you're doing workout wise, or you wouldn't be on this call, or you wouldn't be working the jobs you're doing. Okay. And you guys are smarter than me when it comes to training. The only thing I did back in my day was lift heavy shit. That's all we knew back then. So I wasn't a good exercise instructor as I was a bodybuilder and a strong guy. Okay, so that's the big one right there. That's the final stopping point, really, when you get to that particular point. Okay, next, I just want to go over these myths real quick, and that way you guys can start asking questions. So 1, the muscle full effect. What's the most protein the body can have at one time? The myth is 25 grams. You guys have all heard it. That is not true. Here's the actual. Depends on size. Muscles worked. Whenever we measured fractionalized synthesis rates, it's funny. We would take one leg and work it, right, and find out how much protein, and work it to exhaustion and find out how much protein it could absorb. So that's how you get to 25. Well, what if you train a few body parts? And what if you're 150 pounds, or what if you're 450 pounds, like the world's strongest man, right? Obviously, that's the difference. And the workout time, intensity, muscles work. So the real number is about 0.2 grams per pound of body mass. Now, I use lean body mass generally. Body mass is what ISSN is using. So I put it in there, which is your weight, which is your really body weight, all right, because of co-ingestion. Again, the reason it is this number also, it gets pretty high as you get big, but it's also because when you're eating, no one just eats protein by itself. You're eating carbs, you're eating fats, and when you're eating other foods, it changes the digestion pattern and absorption of amino acids, right? So they trickle in much, much slower. And if they're going much, much slower, you're not really bombarding it all the way. So you'd be surprised how much you can take with each meal. So that keeps what we call amino acidemia flowing throughout the muscles constantly, trying to fire up muscle protein synthesis. So those are the actual numbers, and there's your myth. All right, high protein hurts kidneys and bones. Actual greater than 4 times the RDA is safe for healthy people. We've seen that a million times. We know societies that eat that way, and it may improve actually your bones. Myth: casein builds muscle during sleep. No, I'm not arguing that. I've seen a couple little studies that are out there, but what are we talking about? First of all, we're splitting hairs for sure, and there's definitely not enough data, to say that, really, over a year, if you took a scoop of casein rather than a scoop of wavy when you went to bed, that you're going to build more muscle. I think it's just more of a marketing thing at this point, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Vegans can't build as much muscle as omnivores. A common myth. I hear it all the time since veganism has become very popular. And I would challenge that. I think they probably could, but it's just more nutrition combining, right? You really have to combine things to get that amino acid profile to be equal to what the human being was built to take. We are built as omnivores, and that is the natural state of the human being, is omnivores, because that's how we evolved. So veganism is not natural, so we have to complement ourselves much more, combining different foods in order to get an amino acid profile that would support the continual building of muscle, like we did with our vegan best plant protein. That is fortified with amino acids, so it mimics the whey profile, which obviously we know is the best protein profile there is that really gets close to human amino acid profiles. Okay, and of course they'd have to supplement much more, the vegan. So I think they can. Okay, caffeine is only an endurance performance enhancer. Definitely not true. This, by the way, this meta-analysis just came out about 3 weeks ago. This is the latest. Now, there are some other ones. If you go to my caffeine document in the Workout Extreme document in your practitioner dietary supplement guide, you will see all the stuff on there in strength athletes. Because it's what it does before a workout. I mean, we all know that. Almost all of us drinks coffee before a workout. We always did. We used to line our gums with NoDoz, which was nothing but caffeine, and going to the gym. You know, so it does. It decreases pain sensitivity. There's a lot of things you can push yourself a little harder, obviously. So we already knew intuitively, but the latest meta-analysis confirms significant performance enhancing effects of caffeine on maximal muscle strength, certainly of the upper body. We didn't see too much in the lower, but in the upper body. I think it's very personal. Every once in a while you say, well, timing is unimportant when you have your protein. Okay, I don't need to tell you, it is, all right? You're gonna maximize muscle protein synthesis. If you're just trying to be whatever, then it doesn't matter. You know, your body will figure out a way to kind of make up for a little bit here and a little bit there. But if you want to maximize muscle protein synthesis, you better do it the way we just showed you there. There's more than enough evidence to support that. Okay, and now the reason I put this in here, guys, you guys all seen this in the webcast we do, and of course in your certification, DotFit certification as well. But there's a couple things I wanted to point out. What I did here for you is this. This is because you guys are special, right? Or you wouldn't be on this webcast. And that is, I put in the actual dosing by pounds up in here for you, right? Because that is really the ideal way to do it. You can't put it on a label, you know, like that, because people are, well, we're not, but the FDA says, well, people can't do the math properly. But I get very specific here if you look at this, which you won't get unless you go to the PDSRG. So I put it up on here for you. It talks about, you know, dosing it properly, right? All the way around. I gave you examples there too. But here's the big one here. Putting it in the stack, this is what we're doing, right? You can use your pre-workout complete formula 40 minutes before, like I showed you in those stacks, right? And then 10 minutes before and during, you're using your amino boost, and then immediately after amino boost, and then you repeat your dose again another time before bed. So I like this one before bed. I just like the fact that these amino acids are very special. Now, one last thing here, if you're a non-exerciser, I put that dosing in here because this is now a common prescription now for older people that don't work out to stave off the natural sarcopenia or loss of muscle from age, all right? I put those dosages in here for you as well, and that's special. So if you have relatives or, you know, family or people you know that don't work out, this can help prolong that loss of muscle that's inevitable for, of course, all of us, all the way around. All right, now, and just so you know, the rationale for stacking, you guys have this already. That's in the download. It's in the webcast that I did on Amino Boost. I just want to kind of remind you, the mechanism of action on amino acids along with intact protein. You know, we do see the additive effect is right here. The essential amino acids directly stimulate, you know, what we call RAGB, messenger RNA, or the translation, 60% more than normal protein feeding. So there is an increase there. And what that does is that kind of opens up, of course, that's our target, right? Mammalian target, rat myosin complex 1. That's what we're trying to hit all day long, keep synthesis going rather than breakdown. That's what essential amino acids do. They have a direct route, and mainly because there's less Splanchnick extraction with the straight amino acids versus intact protein. So we're getting both. You got the impact protein coming in constantly because you need all 20 amino acids, obviously, to build the muscle. But to keep that light on, to keep that mTOR going, these things get direct, pretty much direct, because there's less competition for transporters. They get a direct route, and we can actually escape most of that normal liver extraction that the protein has to go through. And again, it creates that ideal environment for hyperaminoacidemia, right? Keep that signal alive. So that's how it works together. I threw this one back in, and you guys have it from the previous one. One other thing, you know, amino boost works really well for cutting appetite. You know, people that I have to work with that have to drastically diet, you know, they'll just drink 3 or 4 of these a day. Obviously, extremely low calories, number one, but it also helps kill appetite, and that's because of this here. It increases leptin production by the adipocytes, which helps with the appetite regulation. Okay. So I just want to put this because this will stave off some questions, because I figured I had questions on all these and I don't want to take up everybody's time with them. But this left side here, and this is all from the latest, International Journal of Society of Nutrition, right? These are all the non-evidence-based supplements that are out there on the market today that have really either no evidence at all or very little for any kind of efficacy or safety related to muscle gain, okay? So I listed them all here for you so that you can do whatever you want with it. And then I put a common FAQ, because I get this all the time, and that is, will DotFit ever make, what is that? Oh yeah, question, will you make a testosterone booster or secretagogues? Well, the answer is this, we don't deal with claimed testosterone growth hormone or any hormone secretagogues, since true ones are clinically applied. So you would go to a doctor, they measure it to make sure it doesn't aromatize. Obviously, your testosterone doesn't aromatize during that. And those that are masking as dietary supplements, some of those are illegal, they're spiked in there, illegal. They are controversial at best. And of course, because of our distribution as wide as it is, including college and pro sports, where these products are obviously banned and our insurance won't cover them, we would never go down that road. And we don't make the direct testosterone booster. And there's something big here about this, because you guys know when I competed. Well, a lot of my friends that I competed with that are still out, they don't compete anymore, obviously. They retired many, many years ago. All great guys. They'll always continue to do just a little bit of testosterone to kind of keep a little of their size. And of course, when I retired completely, went the other way and just everything, I would never go back to any of that part of the world, because you don't know if there's something festering. You don't know if you may have some kind of little cancer festering. And if you're going outside of what your normal body is producing, you better be monitoring that with a doctor, because you could accelerate something bad. So we're never going to make a direct testosterone booster, because there are no legal dietary supplements that fall in that evidence-based category, number one. And not only that, there's not enough proof that work that they're safe, and it could increase testosterone enough to enhance performance. And if they did, it could be harmful long term. We don't want to go down that road with anybody, and I'm just advising you as professionals to do the same thing with your clients and what you do with yourself, that's up to you. All right. And besides, I would argue this, you put somebody on the super stack, you're not going to find anything that's legally, certainly anything stronger than that. Okay, so there you go. And I put the water, that's the prohibited substances. Those of you that work with pro athletes like we do, or drug-tested athletes, that's the list there, in case you have to look it up. Okay, all right, this is my last part right here. I'm going to turn over to you. So where is that final plateau? I call that the age experience intersection. So let me see if I can do a kind of a pictorial for it, and I'll tell you a little story about me. Well, the final muscle gain performance plateau. In other words, when you're not going to perform any better than you were when you were younger or whatever, or you're not going to put on any more muscle because it's there, is what we call the inevitable age-related performance and size decline. So one way or another, I mean, no one looks like Mr. Universe if they die at 100 years old or 95, they don't look like Mr. Universe. Okay, and maybe they did look like Mr. Universe in the old days, but they're not going to continue down. So it has to stop somewhere. But that's what we call performance and size decline. That's what it is, right? Age-related. But it really depends on when you started serious training and how long you've been doing everything perfect. Remember that. So that's the first part. Once you've approached the age experience intersection of training, the only thing you can do is slow the inevitable, which is what I'm, of course, trying to do for quite a while now, right? The inevitable size performance decline by doing all the right things. So all the things we kind of look, diet, supplements, and everything else, right? Training and rest, all that, right? So here's an example. And yes, I don't know where they found that picture of me, but that was me in my 20s when I first started lifting weights. I was that first. I'm giving you the age intersection here. So at age 20, let me put something underneath it so we can compare this now. Okay. So at age 20, if you started work, so let's take someone that's trying to put on as much muscle as they can for a living. So at age 20, I was actually a defensive back, first in football. Got into bodybuilding right here at age 20, started working out, gaining muscle like crazy, into my 30s, hitting my peak in competition at this particular point. And by the time I'm at 40, 41, I am injured and come to the place where I am barely putting on any muscle. It's maybe squeezing out a little bit. So I retire, right? And then begin the incredible shrinking process, right? Which is, and it's a very difficult place. All of us that made a living as muscle athletes or, physique athletes, where is that place where that ends? And for me, it was a very, very difficult time. I went through, a good year, 2 years of really being unhappy and just not being that same person. That was my identity. I crawled up inside that. I was no longer that. But the good news was I had started the companies and they were taking off like crazy. So I was able to lose myself in those things. But this really is a good pictorial of how this all goes down for the average person that starts here and goes serious here, gets all the way to the top. And then at this point, I don't care who you are, unless you're doing some kind of really weird, massive drugs and stuff. And we're not even going to go down that road, guys, right? You're going to have to start shrinking when you've gone to that. Take a tennis player. A tennis player that starts to compete professionally, worked out their whole lives, because pretty much you're playing it since you were a kid, like 6, 7, 8 years old, you start. Get into college, you're a top college player, you go to the pros, top pro player, you're going to peak in your 30s. So that's the good news. Muscle gain can last longer. They're going to peak way early, late 20s, reflexes begin to slow down. That's an age decline. But what if you were a tennis player and you never started until you were 30? Well, you're going to keep getting better. You're not going to be as good as that pro was in their 20s or maybe even their 30s, obviously, but you can keep getting better until you're 40, 45. You're just not going to be that pro person. So again, that's what we mean, where you start and how much you trained in that sport. And the good news, think about gymnasts. They're done in their teens. They've expired, when it comes to Olympic gymnasts for sure. So again, every sport and depending on when you started and how much work you did, has that final plateau in it. So this is a good example now for muscle gain, as you're seeing. So you've got this here, and by the time you're 50, you're still shrinking. And yes, I've gone from a triple X to a double X, and I'm actually down to like a medium. It's getting pretty bad. My wife says she's going to divorce me if I go to a small. So I'm resisting that as much as I can. But I am 67 now, and this was taken yesterday, so that's a real picture. But it's quite a bit of difference. So at some point, you're just hanging on, but at least you're independent and all good things are happening. When you get older now, you actually want to be lighter. The lighter you are, the more you have a better potential at longevity, rather than having all the weight that you've got to carry around. So that's my goal now. I'm kind of the opposite of what it used to be. But I wanted to show you this one in muscle gain. Now, again, watch this. This person at 20 doesn't even start working out till they're 40. They can still put on muscle till they're 55. And look at this. Probably close to, somewhere right when I'm on my shrinking years, right? Okay. And they can still be pretty close here. And they might even be better than me here because all the injuries and everything else that happened to me here. But the point is this. They're still putting on muscle all these years while I'm losing it because I started earlier and I finished earlier with all of that. So depending, and then by the way, an 85-year-old man, we've already shown this, 80, 85-year-old people, never worked out, start working out, they can actually put on a little muscle, not just stave off the inevitable, but actually put on a little. So it is where you start. And hopefully I got that age, experience, intersection, covered there. So guess what's different? This is the best part for me. The brain is different. It has the potential to keep going. It is really amazing. That's a great thing about the brain. It's an amazing muscle. It really, truly is. It just gets stronger, stronger if you use it and you keep adding to it. Completely different than skeletal muscle. So very cool on that part. That's the good news in aging. That's about the only good news, though. All right, done. It's your turn. All right.
Thank you, Neil. Very cool. I told you guys you get a lot of information today, so hopefully you have some questions for us. In the GoToWebinar window, just open up that questions panel and type in any questions you may have. And then we'll field those questions one by one and stay as long as you guys would like. So again, open up that GoToWebinar window, click on the questions arrow, and then type your questions in. Okay, hi TJ. TJ just asked, could I get the PowerPoint, please? Of course, TJ. So for everybody on the call, in the handout section of the GoToWebinar window, if you expand that section, there is a PDF of all the slides, and you can download it directly right now from that handout section. Or you can wait until we post it on the website in probably, 24 to 48 hours, depending on how quickly we can edit it and get it up there. So You're welcome, TJ. Who else has a question? Okay, another one's coming in. So Neil, the question is, if I'm getting a gram per pound of protein daily, do I need to take more pre or post, or do I evenly distribute it throughout the day?
Evenly distributed throughout the day. And I would use that 2/10 of a gram per pound for your pre-post. So just do the math on that. If you weigh 200, what is that? 40 grams. So that's 40 grams before and 40 grams after. And the older you are, by the way, the more protein it takes to overcome the resistance to it, because old people aren't supposed to be here. And so our bodies have turned off already. We're now resistant to the effects of protein and resistance training. We don't grow the same way younger people do. The younger you are, the less protein you need, surprisingly enough. So yeah, I would just use that math formula. I think anytime you're getting 20 to 30 to 40 grams before a workout and repeat it after, you got plenty. And then just split the rest throughout the day evenly.
Okay, you guys got that. So again, that number is 0.2 grams per pound.
Correct.
Okay, and split evenly throughout the day. All right, so another question's coming in. When nearing the age where there's damage to joints, etc., is it possible to stave off performance loss by doing pain mobility interventions such as chiropractic, physical therapy, yoga, massage, etc.? Go ahead.
Loaded question, I'm sure. I mean, I don't think there's any question about it when you're at that age and joints are hindering your ability to work out. Absolutely. I mean, I do most of my workouts today are balance core, anything that I can do to keep my joints as healthy as possible, because definitely on the backside. I will tell everybody something here. There's some interesting studies coming out now on collagen proteins for cartilage, and we never would have guessed this, and that includes me. I don't think any. Certainly, I'm a non-scientist, but all the scientists out there that study all these things always said there's nothing you can do. Collagen protein is just going to get broken down and not going to, does like any other protein, and amino acids will go in there and go where they feel like going, right? Well, we're now seeing some peptides and some different collagen proteins that may help with cartilage and recovery. So something that we're looking at, they're not considered evidence-based yet, so we can't touch it or anything like that. But there is something there also. But yes, all of those modalities you were just talking about, anything you can do. All that kind of training would definitely enhance the ability to continue to grow muscle and work out so you can.
Okay, great. And I think you guys have maybe heard of LeBron James's recovery routine, right? He spends like $1 million a year for massage, therapy, all different modalities to help with maintaining, range of motion in all tissues and managing pain. So good question. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. One comes from Anthony. You mentioned not putting novices on creatine. What do you suggest for these novices who don't eat meat to get the iron and creatine their bodies need for muscle gain?
Give them creatine.
Exactly. That's
Someone's going to catch me somewhere here. No, what I meant by that, I should have clarified that. So I love it when someone comes up with a really smart question like that, right? I'm just saying, when someone came to me, right? Hey, listen, I want to start putting on muscle, and it's a 20-year-old. I'm going to say, okay, let's get your diet right, like I showed you in the first few slides, right? That's easy, right? Just use your program. 2, let's start with your basic supplements right now. Start with that and watch what'll happen. They'll blow up like crazy, right? And then I add the creatine. That's what I meant by that. I just think they're going to gain so much without it first, even if they're not getting it from diet. But when I use the word novice, let's go newbie, because there's plenty of novice trainers out there that have been training for quite a while that want to step it up. And then you are absolutely correct. 100% get the creatine.
Okay, so let's just recap really quickly for everybody in terms of just the basic nutrition for gains, right? You said a 250 calorie surplus, right? 100 to 150 to 250
to 500 to 500.
Okay.
Anywhere from 250 to 500. And then when they're not gaining weight, you start adding another 250 at a time.
Okay.
That, until they start.
Calorie surplus, and then
on slide 12 or something like that.
Okay, great. So calorie surplus, then meet your protein needs. So those
and your baseline supplements, right? And your baseline supplements, which is
baseline.
The baseline supplements, which is your multi and the protein needs, obviously, and then the and your vitamin minerals, and then your your omega if they're not getting it. And that's the baseline. That's the beginning. That it goes along with diet for every human being from womb to tomb, right?
Right.
Then if it's a newbie, I'm just repeating what I said again. If it's a newbie, do that for the first few months until gains start to slow down a little bit, then add your creatine. If it's a novice in a different way, like you maybe the guy that asked the question was, then yeah, you can go right into creatine right away.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Anthony. Type in another one if you want a follow-up question. So Kevin wants to know, would you recommend this stack for someone in their 50s?
Absolutely, that's what their goal is, for sure. I mean, listen, if they're not economically challenged, yes, I would. I mean, there's no question about it. You know, because I'll tell you right now, you're seeing creatine prescriptions by doctors now for the aging population. Protein and creatine right now is like king for helping stave off sarcopenia. So yeah, no question.
Also benefits for brain health. So
Yep.
A lot of research in this area. Kevin, there's a lot of different stacks that we've gone through today. Neil went through several of them. So for everyone on the call, if you want to view some of those stacks, go to dotfit.com/stacks.
And for that 50-year-old, like, you know, use the creatine with amino boost. That one there, that's like the first stack for the adult beginning one. Yeah, that we use amino boost with your protein, and that would be a good one for them. And then, you know, just cycle the creatine though, like, you know, every 12, 14 weeks, go off for about 10 weeks, then go back on for someone like that.
Okay, so follow-up question to that is, after 50, could you talk a little bit more about why people need more protein?
Yes, there is unfortunately a down regulation, and surprisingly enough, it's right after puberty when it really starts. So right there, I mean, old age. I know that's why you stop growing there. By the way, you should know that you stop growing there because now there's a down regulation. Growth plates close, and there's completely different hormonal milieu that takes place. Now, again, you can still continue to build skeletal muscle for quite a while if you keep loading it. But if you don't load skeletal muscle, by the third decade of life, you're going backwards for the rest of your life, right? And if you're loading it regularly, then you can continue to build it. But what happens is by the time you get into your 30s and your 40s and 50s, everything has changed. Your testosterone levels are naturally decreasing because you're not supposed to be here. Remember, the average life of a human being before the last ice age was in their 20s, maybe teens even, you were lucky, right? And then it wasn't, and then maybe just a few thousand years ago, it was still 30s. Right? And then just until 1931, it was 47. So again, you got to remember, we aren't designed to last that long. So the body begins to shut down, and old age, first signs of old age actually start in, like I said, after puberty, but then beyond that, it starts coming a little bit quicker. And it's really just a down regulation. It's a resistant, the body, all of your signals from protein synthesis begin to down regulate, testosterone goes down, growth hormone goes down, all these things naturally go down, because again, it's the way of shutting down the human body once it's got past its prime. So that's what's happening. It becomes very resistant to it, and the only way to overcome it is to get a little bit more of it when it comes to protein. So great studies were done. I think it was Lydia et al. Did the first study that really showed that older adults need 1.5 times more than a younger adult. So both my boys, as you know, they're pro athletes. They're twice my size, and they're in their mid-20s, and I need 2.5 times more protein than they do. And obviously they work out 10 times harder. One's a pro football player and the other one's a fighter. So they're nonstop, training all the time. And I still need 2.5 times the protein that they need. And that's the way the body accepts nutrients. We become resistant to things because we're really checked out. We're just trying to overcome it now.
Absolutely.
So there's a down regulation in your genome.
Yeah, we even get resistant to resistant training, right? So
exactly.
It's almost like nature's like, we don't need you anymore, so you can go.
Taking up space.
Okay. So Daniel wants to know. He says he's always heard that once muscles have reached a creatine saturation level post loading, that taking any more than 5 grams per day is filtered and urinated out. Is that another myth, or is it necessary to take so many doses in stacks?
Sort of a myth. Okay. The 5-gram dosage works for like your average 170, 200-pound athlete as a maintenance dose, okay? And no matter how you take creatine, one of the reasons we have to take so much, the 20, 25-gram loading phase, is because it has a heart. We don't know how much you're going to lose before you get it through your enterocytes, right, into the blood and into the muscle. You lose a ton of it going in. That's why we never knew creatine worked until the 90s. And then Greenhalgh from Canada, he's the guy that figured out we're just doing the wrong dosage. 12 gram, 2 grams, and all this, nothing was working. When he figured out the loading dosage and then came back down with the 5, that's when you're getting that number. And that's still a good number for the average athlete. I like 10 because I don't know as a maintenance dose for most people, not smaller people. In fact, I've got it listed different for smaller people. I go strictly with, if I'm working out with the dosage recommendation, go to your practitioner dietary supplement guide. I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to remember the exact dosage at 0.14 grams per pound for loading, and then it drops down to 0.01 or something like that per pound. I forget what it is, but it's all in your creatine monohydrate practitioner diet supplement guide if you do it by pounds, and that's irrefutable there, right? Because you're doing it by the size. Obviously, the 450-pound top-fit athlete that just won the world's strongest man, he's definitely not, 5 grams ain't going to keep him loaded. I got news for you. Okay, so that's a 10-gram thing. So it is going to be weight, and just keep that in mind. But the average person, yes, no matter how you spin it, I'm glad you're asking this question now. No matter how you spin it, you're going to spill over, and that's just a harmless byproduct of supplementation. It's called creatinine. Everyone has a creatinine level, a certain level in the body, because the body breaks down a certain amount of muscle every day, and that turns into the creatinine tells us how much muscle you're breaking down. So a warning to everybody here, whenever you go into a blood test for a physical or anything else, make sure you go off your creatine for 4 days. Otherwise, the non-sports doctors will go, wow, your creatinine levels are too high. And your kidneys are not functioning right? And that's just a false, it's a false reading, or it's a misinterpreted reading because they're not a sports doctor and they didn't attribute it to that. It's a harmless byproduct, but it will show up in the blood test. Then what you got to do is go off it for 30 days and go back it just to make sure it wasn't something else. And almost 100% of the time, it will just do that harmless, creatinine that comes there. So that's going to happen no matter how much you take or when you take it. But 5 grams will work for most people as a maintenance dose. The rest of it, it really depends when you take it, how you take it. And the bigger you are, you're probably going to get a little bit more. And the smaller you are, maybe a little bit less.
Okay, follow up on that. So if you have a DotFit trainer account, and you open up the window on the left-hand side, the navigation menu, you'll see a link called Research. And if you click on creatine monohydrate on page 6, it will tell you that the loading phase, the traditional loading phase, is 20 grams, right, for 5 days. Neil's put it in by your weight so that you can dose it for your body weight. And that is for the loading phase, 0.14 grams per pound per day. Split evenly throughout.
I can't believe I remember that.
Okay, and then the maintenance phase, traditional maintenance phase, is 3 to 5 grams per day, but to Neil's point, it's more accurate based on weight. And that would translate for you specifically 0.02 to 0.03 grams per pound per day as your maintenance dose. So didn't know if you caught all that, but go into your trainer account under Research, creatine monohydrate document, and it's on page 6.
Okay, thanks, Kat.
Like that for a specific answer.
Pretty specific, good. I know I can't remember anything. I write all this stuff and research it, but I can't remember every single thing. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, so here comes another question for you from Joe. Do you think that stacking supplements, any that you listed, could possibly negatively affect an athlete who is recovering from a serious injury? Example, an athlete who has torn a ligament in his or her knee, gaining too much scar tissue cartilage too quickly.
Now, the only way they would gain scar tissue quickly would be not doing their physical therapy properly. That would be it. I mean, you're going to get a little scar tissue. No one argues that. I mean, we all have it, but it's basically from not adhering to a good physical therapy program. That's where it's going to come from. There's nothing supplement-wise could possibly lead to that. I'm not saying they need everything there, but you'd be surprised. I think almost all our pro teams, college teams, they put anybody with a serious injury, with an ACL or anything like this, they'll go on creatine to help them actually recover faster, along with amino glutamate to help recover faster. That's common. And by the way, in non-athletes, post-surgery, like hip replacement stuff, they put people on a formula identical to Amino Boost to help them recover a little bit faster. So I think it would probably be the opposite. If anything, it would help them as long as they're doing their physical therapy properly.
Okay, great. Cody wants to know, I'm an endurance athlete who is more heavy on the carb side than protein, obviously. I would like on muscle,
what are you doing on this webinar, Cody? What are you doing?
Hold on, let me finish. I put on muscle, he says, but not trying to bulk up as I don't want to sacrifice my performance speed, just like you were saying in the beginning. Yeah. Is that 1 gram per pound of body weight the same for bodybuilders / power lifters as those who are more on the endurance side of fitness? Good question.
Absolutely. There's no question. I could almost make an argument that endurance athletes, ultra endurance athletes actually need more grams per pound. But you guys burn so many calories anyway that's an easy number to hit. So yes, I would say so. And what the recommendation is for endurance athletes right now is 1.6 to 1.8 up to 2 grams per kilogram of weight. Okay, so that's a little bit less than a gram, but that's total weight. And I'm still going lean body mass. So Cody, I think you're good with that number for yourself. And there's also, again, as long as you're getting all the carbs you need, it's not taking the place of carbs, because an endurance athlete has to have that high carb intake.
Yeah. And then if you're trying to put on muscle on top of that.
Yeah, for sure, a gram per pound would be spot on.
Okay. Another question comes from Mike. How long can one take creatine for? Should it be done in cycles? Good question.
The only reason I like cycles is because I don't think you should train at full speed all year round. So I think when you're taking your break, you go 14, 15 weeks. Now we do it according to seasons for like football players and so forth. They'll go 15, 16 weeks through the off season. They get to camp or they begin preseason. We drop the creatine down to a very low maintenance dose now. So maybe even 3 to 5, and they'll actually lose 3 or 4 pounds of fluids from all that stuff and be that much faster and have better vertical and everything else from all the muscle gain during that off season. So it really depends on the athlete and their season to work around that. Then if you're not, no matter what, if you're just trying to put on muscle and you're cycling, yeah, I'd like you to go off at least a couple times a year for maybe 6 weeks and then slowly get back on. And just because I want your training to periodization also at the same time if you're putting on muscle. You just can't stay full bore all the time. The only reason you use creatine is if you're full bore. So that's kind of the point. And that's why I kind of stack it the way we do over those 4 weeks. If you finally get to the point, and then hold that after that 4 weeks, go 10, 12, 14 weeks. There's no health issue. We've seen it, people use it. In fact, Parkinson's disease for 10 years, for 10 grams a day, pretty big number. And there's no downside on the safety thing. So it is personal. I know a lot of my buddies haven't been off it for 5, 6 years, because you get kind of get addicted to the fullness of it, that kind of thing. Obviously, there's no downside from the health that we've seen anywhere. But I like to see it cycled with your training. So you're peaking 2 or 3 times a year. You're full peaking of your training and your gains, and then you're resting. And then active rest means you're still working out, but without the creatine, just using your baseline supplements up to the loading phase again.
Okay, so clarification from Daniel. In the next level slide, past baseline, you listed EAAs and BCAAs, including HMB. Is DotFit planning on creating an HMB supplement?
No, we don't need to with the essential amino acids. That's a downstream metabolite of leucine, hydroxymethylbutyrate, and it's the expense and what you get. It would not. You don't need it if you're taking essential amino acids. We do know that long-term use in older populations, we see a little muscle gain versus placebo. And that's why it falls into that category of, falls into the evidence-based category. But no, we're not, because between high-dose branch chain and, of course, the amino boost, there's really no way. We're kind of being very redundant at that point. But I had to put it in there because it does fall in the evidence-based category.
Yep, I'd agree. Okay, so the next question is, what's the maximum amount of muscle someone can gain every week?
That's it. Look, there's a lot of myths around that one too. It was always got 5 pounds a year. Well, that's when you peaked. If you can put on 5 pounds, like I probably peaked, I don't know, maybe 38 or something like that. If I could put on 5 pounds a year, that would be fantastic. Naturally, we're talking about this. So it really depends. Again, I've put on teenagers. I put on, 5 pounds in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
5 pounds in almost a week, and you can't really tell the difference between fat and muscle after a while, but that all straightens out. I've seen 20 pounds in 10 weeks, and it really depends on where they started and how green they were, and then genetic profile. There's people that really are very slow gainers. They just don't have those same type 2 fibers, the same sort of receptors or the genome, or their myostatin inhibitors, are different. So those are the genetic pieces of it. But when you can put on a pound a week easily when you first start. If you've never worked out before and you follow baseline program, move to the next level, you can go a pound a week for a long, long time. If you already have a ton of muscle, and then if you can put on a pound every month, you should be really happy. So there you go.
Yeah. So about, would you say if someone's experienced about a 1/4 pound per week?
Yeah, if you're really experienced and now you're doing the stack for the first time, I think you can even put on more than that, right? Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you haven't done everything right, yet you've been plateaued for like the last 5 years trying to put on muscle and never done it right, and I gave you the stack, I can promise you to put on more than a 1/4 pound a week.
Okay, and then for females, Neil, a little bit slower?
I cut it in half. I always cut gains in half for the female.
Okay.
Whatever I say for the male, cut it in half. And I've done that in all of our algorithms in our program, and the same thing I did in the slides that you got.
Okay, great. All right, so Scott wants to know, is it possible to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time?
Scott, did you come on late? There's a slide there on that. And yes, the answer is yes. And again, it really depends on where you are. You're going to gain muscle slower, right? And you're going to lose fat slower. So, a priority. But one way you can do it, using the DocFit program a maintenance diet. So if you're 200 pounds, program a maintenance diet for 200. I want to maintain 200, right? And it'll give you that calories, and you will naturally drift down in body fat as you put on muscle, as long as you're supplementing. So that one slide gives you like 4 bullets, I think, there. But obviously, the number one thing is a very small deficit. So your deficit should only be anywhere from 100 to 300 max per week calories per day, for the week. So then you have to if anything, you have to really supplement, right? Like bodybuilder would all the way around. And then you can actually lose fat while you gain muscle. And again, the older you get, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but we do it all day long in the gym. That's what supplementing does. If you're going to lose fat, if you're going to try to lose weight without supplementing, you are going to lose almost as much muscle, or at least a 1/4 of the weight loss will be muscle. That's the whole idea of feeding the nutrients without the calories. And that's the only way you're going to be able to build muscle while you lose body fat. And the very small deficit, okay? And then if it's not happening where you're losing the body fat but you're gaining muscle, just by the weight gain alone, you're automatically drift down in body fat percentage-wise, right? Mm-hmm. So keep all those things in mind as you go after that.
Yeah, and in 2016, Lichtman did that study with overweight men who were fairly new to resistance training. They were consuming 3 times the RDA, so a little over a gram per pound of weight, and they put on lean mass while in a 40% deficit. But again, new individuals, right? New to training, but you do have to take a lot more protein. So.
And novices, without a doubt, Kat, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, they're going to. That's a lot easier to do with.
Yes.
Someone that's been training for a long time.
Okay, so I think that's it. If anybody doesn't have any more questions, then we're done. Okay, here we go. Kat, can you show where to find the Prezo again? Yes, so in the handout section of the GoToWebinar window, you've got to expand that section and you'll see a PDF of the document, and you just have to download it right here from GoToWebinar. And then on the website, if you're in your DocFit Trainer account, you just go to DocFit Tools, and there's a section called Masterclass Recorded Webinars. We'll post everything up there, including the slides, within the next 24 to 48 hours. So those will be ready for you guys to share with your team if you would like to. So Neil, no more questions coming in. So if you have any closing remarks, we can, wrap up for the day.
Yeah, you guys, first of all, I want to appreciate everybody getting on. This is a big one today. Like Kat said, I think we set a record here. So all the way around. But, if you have any other questions, you have Kat's email, kat@docfit.com. You have Neil, Neal, at docfit.com. So anything that you might have forgotten or anything else. And, where everything is, all the educational information. We can always point you directly to it. But I appreciate everybody getting on. These things are getting bigger and bigger, and I think they're, you know, we're in such a great place right now from a nutrition standpoint in the world. Everybody's looking at things that we're doing, that you're doing, to be able to, you know, live longer, better, healthier, and stay active and independent throughout life. And we really kind of have that magic with our holistic solutions with everything here. And supplements, of course, are a big part of all that, the activity and everything else. So anyway, appreciate it. We're just getting smarter, faster. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.